You're right about one thing, Captain. We are no Jedi. War is coming.
When the stakes are this high, it takes a master and an apprentice to defeat our enemy.
What makes someone ready?
You just know.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and welcome to my Ahsoka Episode 1 breakdown video. We are going to be discussing all types of references, Easter eggs, and things that you might have missed throughout that first episode. We are going to go ahead and hop right on into it. I think it should go without saying that yes, there are spoilers ahead for Ahsoka Episode 1 and a little bit of Episode 2. My spoiler review on that is that they are absolutely amazing. Stop wasting your time and go watch them already. Okay, so with that out of the way, Ahsoka Tano was first introduced into the sprawling Star Wars universe 15 years ago when George Lucas had premiered the animated feature Star Wars The Clone Wars, the movie, which delved into the tentrous 3-year period between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. She quickly became one of the most beloved new additions to the franchise, both because of her incredible arc and her dynamic with her master Anakin Skywalker in the animated show, The Clone Wars, and later her connection to the crew of the Ghost in Star Wars Rebels and a role as Falkrum. While her legacy is steeped with rich lore instinctually tied to the prequel trilogy, Ahsoka Tano is still a relatively new character for fans who stick to the live-action Star Wars, a fact of that may prove a challenge for Dave Filoni's latest Disney Plus show. George Lucas may have been driving the force behind the Clone Wars at the start, but Star Wars fans have already known that Ahsoka Tano was Dave Filoni's pride and joy and creation, and that he was the arbiter of her destiny within the franchise. After The Mandalorian garnered critical acclaim with its first season, fans knew it was only a matter of time before Ahsoka was brought into the live action. Midway through season 2, Rosario Dawson stepped into the role to face off against Morgan Elsbeth, and the seeds of Ahsoka were planted in. In the Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka returned yet again. Through this time, it was more established that she had befriended Luke Skywalker, a detail which may play a role later in Ahsoka, or maybe even at that, perhaps Dave Filoni's upcoming Mandoverse film. With the first episode entitled Master and Apprentice, Filoni brings Star Wars back to its true roots with an opening crawl, something that other live-action Disney Plus shows have forgone and haven't done. The crawl helps to establish some key aspects of the current world state, particularly with the impending search for Thrawn being played by Lars Mikkelsen, though it lacks the distinct punch that previous crawls have contained, which actually matches the somewhat meandering tone of this episode and sets the overall tone of the show. Master and Apprentice Episode 1 opens aboard the New Republic vessel which is transporting Morgan Elsbeth to her trial. In classic Star Wars style, it is clear from the beginning and the get-go that this vessel won't be reaching its destination though, unfortunately. Especially when a mysterious vessel flies into their path using an old Jedi clearance code. Captain Hale is quick to call there a bluff, welcoming these two cloaked figures aboard the ship to get the bottom of the mystery that is now afoot. To the outside observer, Baylan Skoll, played by the late Ray Stevenson, and his apprentice, Shinhati, played by Ivani Sakona, do look like a master and apprentice as Jedi, though their red-orange lightsabers and the fact that the Jedi are few and far between at this point in the galactic history bring their scheme to an abrupt end. With now Baylan and Shin cut down the crew in no time and make their way to the cell of where Morgan is being held. This sequence allows Dave Filoni to shoehorn another epic hallway scene into the Star Wars log books. Morgan is given the honor of being the first character in the series to mention Ahsoka by name, as she tells Baylan that the former Jedi is in search of the star map that might lead her to Thrawn's location. These are the same details, though more eloquently put, that the audience received in the opening crawl, which does seem a little bit counterproductive, though it is still serviceable and nice to see it actually pan out. From there, Ahsoka joins up with its titular character as she searches for the aforementioned star map on a sandy planet steeped with lure and ancient ruins as a past temple. As she puzzles her way through this crumbling ruins and uncovers the location of this relic, it's hard not to draw comparisons to Indiana Jones, which Dave Filoni seems to take some visual cues from. It's a lengthy segment of a 50-minute episode, clocking in at around 5 minutes of screen time, as Ahsoka and Huyang make their departure from the newly destroyed planet now. They're both made aware of an incident that has occurred, which reunites them with one member of the Ghost Crew. Hera Syndulla debriefs Ahsoka on what happened aboard the vessel that was carrying Morgan Elsbeth, though Ahsoka is not able to identify the master and apprentice as Hera has hoped. Given their lightsabers and abilities, Huyang believes them to have been former Jedi, and Ahsoka asks him to run a search on their lightsabers in hopes of identifying them. I'll have another video discussing and talking about Shin-Hati and her master Baylan Skoll in a separate feature video here on the channel, because there's a lot to discuss with these mysterious characters, but for now I think the best way to describe them, seeing that they have orange lightsabers, isn't necessarily Sith, but a lot of Star Wars fans have referred to them as Dark Jedi, very similar to as of what Mace Windu was during the events of the Clone Wars and the prequel trilogy. Having a purple lightsaber is a mixture between red and blue, making it purple, and orange is a mixture between yellow and red. So one theory I've seen out there is maybe that Baylan Skoll was a temple guard during the events of the Clone Wars. But really, only time will tell with that, and as I had mentioned, I'll have another video discussing that. While Ahsoka has taken the time to acquaint herself with the likes of Luke Skywalker, it seems that she and Hera haven't been in much communication with each other since the end of the events of Star Wars Rebels, the animated show, or at least since the fall of the Empire. Ahsoka reveals that the star map she has tracked down might lead to the location of Thrawn, which surprises Hera. She still believes he died on the Battle of Lothal, taking Ezra Bridger with him. Given the history between Hera and Ahsoka, it seems odd that they're now just having this discussion. It feels clunky for fans that know the history there, and even an exposition for a newer audience. It lacks that broader context, I think. The mention of Ezra carries a heavy weight, but the source of the weight is disconnected for the better part of the episode, but I think it will come back. Shifting gears, coincidentally, on Lothal, the local leaders are memorizing Ezra's sacrifice with a mural that depicts the Ghost Crew seen at the end of Star Wars Rebels. Governor Azadani's, played by Clancy Brown, his speech is rather vague, noting that his sacrifice was several years ago, rather than giving a definitive anniversary, which may be for the benefit of Star Wars rather, and with its fast and loose timeline. This commemoration goes a war. However, when the keynote speaker Sabine Wren fails to show up, at this point Master and Apprentice gets some much needed life injected into this introduction of Sabine, who has skipped out on the commemoration in favor of speeding out of town while listening to some grunky space rock, which I love. Natasha Liu Bordizzo's Sabine is exactly of what one might expect from a slightly more mature version of the character, and she absolutely nails it. She's contrarian, rebellious, and an absolute menace to society, just for no reason. Through Sabine, we learn a little bit more about who Ezra is, or rather was at this point. At her brightly painted home, where she lives with her Lothcat, Sabine reminisces over her old friend while watching a hologram he had left for her. Though Eman Estevani's presence is short-lived, he makes for a great live-action Ezra Bridger. Tragically, though, Dave Filoni doesn't take this opportunity to demolish any hopes for Ezra and Sabine to have some type of romantic future. Rather, that makes many fans pin for during Rebels, by having Ezra say to Sabine in that recording that Sabine is more of a sister to him. Lothal becomes the main focal point for the remainder of the episode, with Morgan Elsbeth now directing Shin-Hati to travel there rather cryptically. Baylan is kind enough to explain that Ahsoka's former apprentice Sabine Wren calls Lothal home, and that Ahsoka will likely take the star map there. This piece of information might be surprising to Star Wars Rebels fans, as it was never really established in the show, considering Ahsoka is not a Jedi and was far removed from the Order when she teamed up with the Ghost Crew. It seems odd that she took Sabine as her apprentice, especially when she knows where that path can lead. Of course, Baylan and Morgan are correct. Ahsoka heads straight to Sabine on Lothal, where Sabine is being lightly conjured for missing the ceremony. ceremony. And so, rather than leading with Thrawn, as she did with Hera, Ahsoka tells Sabine that the star map might lead to them to Ezra Bridger. Sabine seems less convinced that Ezra might still actually be out there, but willing to listen to what Ahsoka is involved in. Ahsoka and Sabine have a tense conversation about their tentrous relationship during Sabine's apparent Jedi training, which establishes that they had some kind of falling out. Their reunion is interrupted by Huyang, who has identified Baylan Skoll as a Jedi who has disappeared at the end of the Clone Wars. Before departing to go over their findings, Ahsoka warns Sabine not to take the star map out of the ship, which that's exactly what she does and disobeys. At this point, Shin is already hot on Sabine's trail, though she kindly waits to spring her attack until after Sabine figures out how to get the star map to work. Despite the star map proving difficult for Ahsoka to figure out, Sabine manages to figure out how to crack the code rather quickly. Before she can really relish in her discovery, Sabine is jumped by a pair of droids that steal the star map to bring it back to Shin. Sabine grabs Ezra's lightsaber and takes off to action and after Shin, after calling Huyang for backup, and things go pretty badly. Before Ahsoka can get to her, Shin runs Sabine through with her lightsaber, leaving her to presumably die after somewhat of a lightsaber fight is actually put up, but I think that Shin might have been toying with Sabine to feel her out of how well she can actually use a lightsaber, or if she was even force sensitive. Having a lightsaber sequence and a fight sequence at that though, however, in the first episode of Ahsoka was beyond amazing, and was so exciting. A show with lightsabers is exciting, as I think that Obi-Wan Kenobi was for sure a show with lightsabers, but not to the extent of what Ahsoka is, because especially I feel that much through Obi-Wan Kenobi they had to conceal their lightsabers as Kenobi was in hiding. I for sure think that there's going to be some more lightsaber fights here soon in Ahsoka, and I can't wait for it. Especially with that they don't have to necessarily hide their lightsabers. Seeing Sabine lose this fight scene as well shows that she's rusty, hasn't used her lightsaber in quite some time, and that her and Ahsoka haven't trained together in quite some time. And as I had mentioned here on the channel in our reaction video, is that really caught me off guard, seeing her just downright get the good old Qui-Gon Jinn and a stab wound right through the stomach was really quite intense, although I did know that Sabine would not be dying. There's clearly other scenes of her throughout the trailers. And for our friend Rey at the very end of the episode was an honest tearjerker for me, as if I wasn't already tearing up throughout the entirety of this episode, seeing all these characters come back to life and come back to see the continuation of their story. For those of you that may not be aware, Ray Stevenson, or the late Ray Stevenson, had recently passed away just a couple of months ago, and it plays the Master to Shin and Baylan Skoll. I think it's clear that this final showdown is aimed at drawing a comparison between the two pairs of masters and apprentices showcased in this episode. Sabine is a skilled lightsaber welder, but her training with Ahsoka was unfinished and clearly continuous. Shin, on the other hand though, however, seems to have had a great teacher in Baylan Skoll, which sets her up as a formidable foe for the remainder of the show. Ahsoka may be the titular character, but it's Sabine, Shin, and Baylan that are some of the most compelling aspects of this overall first episode. Ahsoka is working as this new world-building show in comparison to what The Mandalorian's Season 2 and Season 3 were doing, as in world building that they were working with a lot of different characters, main characters arguably at that, and that has now shifted over to what Ahsoka is after The Mandalorian Season 3 gave the finale a soft reboot. So there's definitely a lot of screen time to be shared over amongst all these different characters of the Ghost Crew, Hera Syndulla, Sabine Wren, Ahsoka herself, Huyang maybe even arguably, and then also adding into the mixture of Thrawn when Ezra returns, hopefully fingers crossed, Baylan Skoll and his apprentice Shin. But they did an amazing job not just with this first episode but also with episode 2, so Dave Filoni we trust. What's really fascinating about this episode titled Master and Apprentice is that it doesn't feel like a pilot episode, at least not into the typical sense. It may be the first episode of Ahsoka, but it feels like a continuation of the show that came before it. These characters are already established in the mind of Dave Filoni. They don't need an introduction or even a reintroduction at that. Ahsoka may not be for casual fans, but it's a thrilling experience for die-hard viewers who really enjoy Dave Filoni's brand of storytelling and lure-infused stories that rely upon the teachings of its past. I think that Ahsoka does work for a newer audience. Maybe you're flying in blind, I've never seen anything before with Star Wars, or maybe at least any of the other animated shows like Clone Wars or Rebels, but I think that you're able to catch on rather quickly. There's a few holes here and there, but that's really my only complaint about this first episode. And at that, the first episode does set up a few compelling threads and narratives by which we can go, which it will hopefully be pulled on throughout the rest of the season. Episode 1 is quite a slow burn for Ahsoka, but by the end, audiences should be ready to dive headfirst into this next episode, episode 2. I'll have my breakdown video coming out shortly for episode 2 here on the channel as well. All the more reason to grab that subscribe button and that notification bell if you haven't already to be notified for when that video comes out. We're also discussing and talking about all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel, so if you guys are into any of that, hit that subscribe button today and join us. Of course, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. What did you guys think about Ahsoka's first episode, and we might as well. What did you think about episode 2 as well, if you've seen it? I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions and own fan theories in the comment section down below, guys. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.
Ahsoka.